welcome back to the channel. So I really wanted to rewatch the Jujutsu Kaisen, the first season of the anime, and read the manga, which I've been collecting for a while now. And I thought, why not do both? Let's compare the Jujutsu Kaisen anime to the Jujutsu Kaisen manga. Because you always hear about, like, the manga's better, the anime is better. I thought, this is the perfect time to kind of review both. So how this is going to work is there's going to be multiple parts to this video. The first part is kind of reviewing just the arc and the chapters itself, kind of the story it tells, which I found this very handy picture right here, which kind of breaks down the chapters of the manga versus the episodes of the anime. So that was very helpful. I really appreciate it, whoever made this. Seriously, if you see this, thank you very, very much. It was very helpful. Part 2 is going to be what I liked better in the manga. Part 3 is going to be what I liked better in the anime. And the final part is kind of my overall thought and what I thought was better or won. This is not a competition. I enjoy manga and anime both. Please don't hate me. And I'll put timestamps down below so you can kind of hop around the video and see what you want to see and my thoughts on certain aspects instead of watching the whole video. It'd be cool if you watched the whole video. Like, I put a lot of work into it. You know, it'd be nice. But you don't have to. Don't feel pressure about it. You know what I mean? Hey, I don't want to pressure you. I'm pressuring you right now. It's a mind game. Alright, let's start the video. So this arc in the manga and anime, which covers chapters 1 through 5 in the manga and episodes 1 through 3 in the anime, is called basically like the introduction arc. But I'm not going to judge it too harshly or review it too harshly because it's tough for any manga or anime to set up a new series, set up an entire world with its rules and its tone, and you have to introduce the characters, which, let's be honest, as people that have read a lot of manga or watched a lot of anime, the introduction of characters is not going to be anybody's favorite. Like, no, I guarantee you, no one is like, you know my favorite One Piece arc? East Blue. You might have nostalgia for the Saiyan arc of Dragon Ball Z, but it's not going to be your favorite. So I'm not going to review it too harshly. But I will say, for an introduction arc, Jujutsu Kaisen nails it. Like, you enjoy the main character, it sets up kind of the big bad, or the plot device that's going to propel these characters through this world pretty quickly and pretty easily, on top of having really cool fights and a really interesting set of rules in this world that it's building. For a shonen manga or anime, that's really the most you can ask for it to do. Like, Gojo is still cool. We haven't seen his eyes yet. Gojo's eyes. You know. Especially you. Like, you specifically. I was not asking too much of these beginning chapters and beginning episodes of this anime. But what you do get, and I think really sets it apart, is you get great fight scenes. And you get great world building. You know within these first 5 chapters, he eats the fingers for Sukuna, and at the end of it, they're going to kill him. That's really all you need to know. Like, that's enough for the first 5 chapters to be like, okay, I'm in, or I'm out. On top of that, you kind of already see the powers of what Jujutsu can do, so it gives you enough crumbs to hopefully keep you wanting to know more, or if you're like, you know what, I've seen enough, not for me, which is cool too. Like, I'm not going to say you have to like it. I really enjoy Jujutsu Kaisen. You don't have to. If you're watching a review on Jujutsu Kaisen, it'd be weird if you didn't like it. If you're just here to be like, hate it, we get it, move on, you can leave. And we do, towards the end of the 4th and 5th chapter, we get to see how the 3 main trio, because it's shonen, there's always a trio, you know. Gotta have a trio. We get to see how they are going to interact and what their personalities are and how they're going to mesh well together. Update. I will be honest with you. I guess Naruto is probably the closest, I would say, to this trio that I can get. Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto. That's close, but even still, I feel like these get along less, because at least Naruto and Sakura kind of got along. I feel like none of these 3 get along, and it's kind of great to see. Like, there is great comedy bits in this. It's not overly done, which I don't like when shonen manga. It's like overly do comedy, unless they do it super well. One Piece does it really well. But overall, I would say the story in this manga sets up the world. It does its job. It sets up the world, sets up the rules. You get to see cool little action and what all the characters are kind of bringing to the table personality-wise. Which, for an introduction arc, I feel like that's the most you can ask for. I wouldn't say it's the best beginning of a shonen manga or anime, but it's definitely in the 8 out of 10 range. For sure, if I was going to put a number on it. Which I'm not. I'm not putting numbers on any of this. But it is above average. It is a B. B plus. A. It's an A. It's a gold star check mark. You know what? I'm just not going to do a rating system. It'll get too confusing. Let's talk about the manga of Jujutsu Kaisen. I think that this manga, I read a lot of manga, as you can see behind me. First off, the first chapter is 60 pages. That is so cool that they let them get 60 pages for the first chapter. Like, I was reading it, and I was like, does it just not have chapters? Like, it just kept going and going and going. But again, for a first chapter, it gives the author, I believe, room to breathe and flesh out its rules. And what I wasn't expecting was the dialogue was super sharp. Like, these characters actually come off as characters. And not like, you know how sometimes you can read, especially like shonen is bad about this, where you're like, the dialogue is just, this is not how people speak. This is not even close how people speak. I think Jujutsu Kaisen, for what they're talking about and the world that they live in, they talk very much like actual human beings, which was very nice to see. And sometimes mangas get there, but it's fewer and far between. The first chapter, right out the gate, an author has the voice for the characters. I think it obviously has been done. But also the characters change over time, which I'm sure these will. But right out of the gate, they come off as actual human characters that live in the world that they inhabit. Now, I will say, and we're about to get to the anime portion of this video. No, I was like, I'm not going to judge it harshly. I lied. This one was super dialogue heavy right out of the gate. I do think it works itself out. I think by chapters 4 and chapters 5, there's a good flow to dialogue to action. Because that's the thing. Certain manga, like a Berserk, an Erased, a 20th Century Boy, you want the dialogue. That's what you're there for. A top title in Shonen Jump, you can have them have dialogue and have long dialogue. That's fine. But an info dump, just beating you over the head with building this world, can get a little tiring, is a better word than boring. Don't mean to do that. But yeah, that is one of the only complaints that I honestly have with the first 5 chapters of this manga. Overall, the art is good. I mean, it's not great. It's not like you open it up and you're like, this is the new Berserk. But the action is drawn very, very well. Overall, the manga has a good art style. It's not going to be one of the first things, obviously, as you've seen, that I will bring up when I talk about the manga. And now let's talk about the anime. I think this anime, there was a reason that when it came out, everyone was talking about it. And it holds up today, even 2 years later. So the animation house that does it is Mappa. Maybe you've heard of them, Mappa. They've done a few. Yeah, they've done a few animes. You know Mappa's style. I really enjoy it. I think that they crush pretty much any anime that they're given. So, and I know some people have their problems with Mappa, but for me, this animation leveled up the manga paneling and leveled up the manga art to a higher tier than what was in the source material. And right off the bat, what I think the anime did brilliantly was it actually re-edited some stuff. So the manga opens up with Fushigiri? Why can I not pronounce his name? He's kind of looking for this cursed object. And then it goes into Ichidori at school. Which is fine, like that's okay opening. But the anime opens up with Gojo having Ichidori tied to a chair and you're in this room. You have no idea what's going on. And I think that it just builds suspense and then it cuts into all that stuff. But I think that builds suspense of like, oh, hold on. This is the character that we're going to follow. And we saw him in this chair kind of tied by this blindfold man. We have no idea what this stuff is. And I think they just built up suspense, even for the world building that they are trying to do. it keeps you even in those little slow periods because you are seeing how they get to this part. And I think that is a brilliant thing that they did. I think that upgrades the first episode, thus the first chapter of the manga, because of just that little edit. I promise you that if I do another installment of this video series, I will get his name right. The dog man, I promise you. You have my word. I will practice that name. I am so sorry. Do any of you guys listen to music as you read manga? And does it help with the experience? Let me know in the comments below. That's a really interesting question. But when the soundtrack and the music kicks in, I think it upgrades any scene that it is happening. Even the action scenes to the small little dramatic moments. I think it's very, very important. And the voice acting is stellar. I actually watched it in Japanese and I watched it English dubbed. I watched both. I'm crazy, I know. But honestly, the dub's not bad. Like, I have absolutely watched worse dubs. It's not my preferred way to watch Jujutsu Kaisen. I liked the sub. But if you're like, you know what, I want to watch something as I'm eating breakfast, which I actually like to do, the dubbed is just fine. I will say one of the scenes I liked in the manga was Ichidori with his grandfather. And his grandfather is saying what he says in the manga, which is like, you gotta help people. He's like, you trying to, like, die or sound cool when you're dying? He's like, let an old man sound cool when he's going out. Like, there was not that in the anime, and I did like that little scene in the manga. But a scene that was not in the manga that I really liked in the... Well, it was, but they do it on a park bench, which I kind of like, too, is when Ichidori has to eat the second finger. I like it in the manga when it's outside on a bench, because it really shows that Gojo has no fear of Ichidori and him having two fingers and Sukuna. Like, he's just kind of like, let's see what happens. I know I can handle whatever happens. Because if we know anything about Gojo, he can handle whatever comes his way. He is scared of nothing. And he loves sweets. Those are the two things we know. Handle anything, love sweets. I get it. But in the anime, I did like the scene because Ichidori was like doing something with his grandfather's ashes, and the way that they can cut the editing, which again, you can't hold it against the manga, but the anime editing, just the medium that is anime versus the medium that is manga, the way that his grandfather's words cut back and forth when he's kind of having this conversation with Gojo and accepting whether he wants to or not. Actually, he even looks at a picture of his grandfather, he's like, oh, that last promise to you is going to be a real headache. And you can't do that with manga, I totally get it, but with the anime, the way that the editing is done is just, it plays with that scene, and I feel like it makes you feel what he's going through a little bit better than words on a panel. And again, obviously, the music and the voice acting is really well done in that scene. So that does help. And another thing that actually really shocked me, and I think this speaks to how good the dialogue was in the manga, the dialogue for the anime is almost one for one. Like, it is very close. You especially notice it when you read the 5 chapters and then watch the 3 episodes in rapid succession. Because it is kind of scary how the dialogue is one for one. Mostly. There's a few changes, but hardly noticeable. And I think that speaks to how well written the manga was. Recent memory, I can't think of a shonen anime that has just come out of the gate just swinging like Jujutsu Kaisen did. I think Mappa is at the top of their game. I think the voice acting is great. I think the music is great. I think the story that it is trying to tell is unique enough that even if you were burnt out on shonen with the supernatural twist, and I think the characters, which speaks to the manga too, the characters were so strong that it translated really well into anime. And that is why it was on the tip of everybody's tongue. If you watched anime, you were talking about Jujutsu Kaisen. And I think this Jujutsu Kaisen Zero movie is going to do very, very well. I know it's a hot take. Like, oh, this popular anime that's going to have a movie? Look at Demon Slayer. You know, just the #1 anime ever. So yeah, I bet the Jujutsu Kaisen movie is going to do pretty well here in North America. If the manga and the anime for Jujutsu Kaisen was going to battle it out against each other, in my opinion, I think they are both great. What if I just ended the video like that? I was just like, I'm not going to make a choice. But no, if I had to pick the anime or the manga for the editing choices in the first episode, I think Mappa's at the top of their game. I think the soundtrack is fantastic when that music hits and those fight scenes are going, and even the emotional scenes that a little bit in these first 3 episodes. I have to give it to the anime over the manga. They are both good. As a person that reads way more manga than actually watches anime, I'm surprised at my choice too. But I just think there's a reason people are waiting at the edge of their seats for the movie and the new season of Jujutsu Kaisen. I think for a shonen anime, it's hard to find a better one right now. But the manga's still good. The manga's not bad. But if you like shonen and for some crazy reason you haven't watched Jujutsu Kaisen, I highly recommend it. I think it's one of the best animes out there, if I have not said that enough in this video. Yes, that is it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I've been thinking about this idea for a long time. Not to put manga against anime and which is better and all that. Which I literally just did that in a video. Like, literally that's what this video is. They are both absolutely fine, and I enjoy both of them all the time, constantly. It's almost all I do in my free time. So it's not a slight against one or the other. I just think it's super interesting to read the manga and watch the episodes of the anime that the chapters are based off of and see the little differences. Like, I would have never noticed certain differences, whether it be little scenes of like he was on a bench here, he was inside, this is different, this dialogue's different, this opening is different. I would never notice that stuff. I never did it like this. And I think it's super interesting, just in a fun way. So hopefully you thought this video was fun and you enjoyed it. And let me know in the comments below if you want me to do more Jujutsu Kaisen, or, you know, I've never watched Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, and I've never really read the manga, so that could be interesting. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. And as always, if you have made it to the end of this video, I appreciate you so much. You guys are the best. It blows my mind. You guys are the best. Yes, thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed yourself, and I'll see you next time.